Hello and welcome to episode 3 of The Flop Factor. I'm Cody Burton, alongside me Brayden Laszlo, DJ McDermott, and RJ Rice. And guys, we're doing the Western Conference preview as Media Day has begun throughout the NBA world. I know that I'm covering the Thunder's Media Day earlier today, and it was just great to see everyone back and having fun. This is the one day of the NBA season where it's all jokes. No practice, no games, just a bunch of fun.
Are we going to stick to all jokes? Apparently, fun fact, Lonzo Ball didn't know Cleveland had water.
Oh.
Fun fact.
Really?
He learned that.
Yeah.
And I saw in the comment section of it, it was like, oh, yeah, before LeBron, they didn't have water or land. And then after LeBron, they got water, land, a bunch of transportation. I'm like, dude, Jesus, Lord. What are we doing, man? I try to stay off NBA Instagram. You can go down a big rabbit hole really quickly.
Agreed. Yeah, for the Spurs, De'Aaron Fox is going to miss the start of the season with a hamstring injury, which I was kind of sad to hear about. But Victor Wembanyama somehow grew an inch over the offseason. He went from 7'3" to 7'4". So, I mean, any height adds to his he's going to have a big year. He's going to have a big year, and he just gets bigger.
Yeah, NBA Media Day is so fun because, you kind of see, how these players are off the court, especially with no pressure on them. You kind of see how that teammate chemistry is going to be throughout the year. I know we all know, Cleveland fans definitely know that one picture with LeBron, Kevin Love, and Kyrie, all the guys just hanging out. OG Big Three in Cleveland right there.
Yeah. Well, the Thunder have had the Thunder social media pages have been active today, and it's been a lot of the interns and admins that's over running the Thunder social this year. They tend to have an internship program over there with social media, and they're just letting the players get on the Twitter page and tweet. And it's very funny. Kaysen Wallace got on the page and said, "I've noticed that Kaysen's hair looks great. I think he has the best hair in the team." And then Lou Dort quote tweeted it himself and said, "That's not true." Oh, as a Thunder, by the way, Lou Dort has the best hair in the team. And the last person to get onto the Twitter page was Shea, and he said, "Kids, no more jokes and TikToking, please. The season is starting. Thanks, too."
There you go.
So yeah, he's two's locked in. But before we get into the West, before we get into Media Day, we cover a little bit of WNBA on this podcast. I watch it. You all do too sometimes. And it's the playoffs. It's the playoffs. Big time. It's the conference finals now. The Indiana Fever, without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, if that really matters to some people, maybe. I'm not a biggest fan of her game, but are one game away, a winner-take-all game tonight against the Las Vegas Aces. It's been Indiana have just found ways to win consistently. It's going to be a Game 5, 2-2 series. Winner goes to the WNBA Finals against the Las Vegas Aces. And these are two Cinderella teams going head-to-head. The Aces were really faltering at the start of the year, and they just hit a groove. A'ja Wilson, MVP. Everyone on this team just locked in, pretty much. But in the terms of the Indiana Fever, Kelsey Mitchell. I was high on her game for years. Before Caitlin Clark got there, she was by far the best player in the team. She was the best. She was the only good player on the worst team in the entire league for years and years. And now she's the number one option on a playoff team without their normal number one. And she's averaging 23 points a game, 3.1 assists, 1.1 steals. Aaliyah Boston's been great on her side, the former number one pick. 10.7 rebounds, leading the team, 12.7 points. And Lexi Hull's been a solid guard as well. She's the last one of the. I don't exactly remember what the trio is called of her, Clark, and Sophie Cunningham, but she's the last one remaining that's not hurt. But Kelsey Mitchell. It's just, phenomenal. Yeah, but tonight, it's probably going to be actually whenever this releases. This game will be playing, and you will hear it first from me.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest factors that I've liked about the Indiana Fever this year is their Stranger Things uniforms. I think those are some of the coolest uniforms throughout the WNBA and NBA. And they pulled them out for a playoff game last night, which you don't see often. You don't see those like cool types of uniforms or like the city uniforms go into the playoffs that often. I think that's pretty cool to see. But one person I want to mention is Leah Boston. She finished with 24 points and 14 rebounds, and she's been solid for the Fever all season, especially with the injuries that they've had to go through. And just to kind of take down a team that has MVP and co-defense player of the year, Asia Wilson, I mean, it's impressive, especially without having two, definitely your best player, but also a good role player in Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. I mean, it's really impressive to see, and I think that this is a nice little underdog story in the WNBA storylines right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the Indiana Fever, too, a lot of people wrote them off saying Caitlin Clark is going to be out for the rest of the year. They're like, they don't have a hope. They don't have a chance. I mean, you're facing Las Vegas Aces and Asia Wilson. I mean, can they really pull it off? And, I mean, so far, they're doing a pretty good job. I can't lie. I mean, you kind of stole my player there, DJ. But
Leah Boston?
Yeah, I was going to go with her. I'm going to go with guard. I believe I'm saying this properly. If not, I apologize in advance. Odessa Sims? Odessa Sims, okay. I knew I was going to get it wrong. But I really liked her production, especially from guard. I think really when you're looking at it, she's been averaging, give or take around 12 points in the postseason so far. So, I mean, getting that 18, having the big three of Mitchell, Boston, and then Sims leading that production, I think for Indiana really helped give them this win. I think from Sims especially, you got to have somebody, at least a guard, another guard I should say, that should be able to pick up offensively. And I think with Indiana and the team, you're down your number one option. You're going to need it from different faces. And I think if they get it all, if they pull this off in Game 5, really, really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Leah Boston, I think the underrated element of her game is her playmaking. I mean, she's a very good playmaker for her size, especially in the WNBA. You don't see a lot of bigs making plays like she does, and it's very impressive to see. Obviously, coached by the great Dawn Staley there at South Carolina, former number 1 overall pick. I mean, obviously, if you're the Fever, you're kind of going against a Vegas team that kind of pulled a reverse Detroit Tigers. They were down. Basically, the Guardians of WNBA, for lack of better terms, came down from a struggling start to the season, absolutely ignited off of Asia Wilson, and it's going to be a great finals regardless. I do kind of like this format in the WNBA where it's just the top 8, doesn't matter what side of the country you're from, let's just line it up and play ball.
That was the best 8, but don't get me too excited on those Cleveland Guardians, dude. I could go on a big tangent there.
Yeah, if you want to hear more about the MLB, catch right here on WWFM Morgantown, on the radio station that sponsors this podcast, WWFM Morgantown, UnitedMoose.com/listen. Wednesday nights at 9 p.m., there's an MLB segment for 30 minutes, and most Fridays, 4 to 6 p.m., there's also a baseball show called Fastballs and Foul Tips. You'll catch me on it, sometimes RJ, sometimes Brayden. Sometimes DJ even, if he ever wants to hop on. But,
yeah, why not?
Yeah, and the winner of this game will be tomorrow night. If you're listening to this Monday nights, as we are recording this on Monday, I plan to post it around 8 p.m. Monday as I normally do. If you're listening to this Tuesday morning, it'd be tonight. The winner of this game between the Aces and Fever will take on the Phoenix Mercury in the WNBA Finals, who upset the Minnesota Lynx after the Lynx lost Nafisa Collier with an ankle injury. And that's a heartbreaking loss, a 10-loss team losing without even making it to the finals. And, yeah, you'll catch this game on ESPN2 against the Aces and the Fever. But moving on to the NBA, it is the Western Conference preview, and I have a couple of nice discussion points prepared for today. It's about the same format if you listen to last week's episode on the East. We're going to go off favorite Western Conference offseason move to the biggest riser, to the biggest faller, and then I found a better name for that young team award to make more sense. I call it the Flop Factor Official Up Next Award, the young team that shocks everyone. And then we'll go on to our playoff predictions, and that'll be a nice episode. But we're going to start favorite Western Conference offseason move. Last week we went on to the East. I said Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You all said all the people you all picked. I don't remember. But who is it?
Well, I'll get the elephant out of the room. For me especially, And I know a certain person feels a certain way about these Houston Rockets. Over here, Brayden, I'm looking at you. I'm going to go with the Kevin Durant trade. I mean, to me, I love trades. I'm a big trade guy, big off-season, trade deadline guy. I'm sitting there on my phone, on Twitter, scrolling and waiting for the next trade to break. And, I mean, obviously this one was especially in the off-season. I believe he was at Fanatics Fest when this move dropped, which is funny enough.
He was actually speaking on the...
Everybody found out. He also found out in front of everybody, which... from a business side, I mean, trying to keep it professional, I don't know about that, but I think really also even getting Clint Capella for the Rockets, I think was also really good. But I think obviously you're partnering with Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and I know a lot of other assets with picks and the 7 teams involved. I'm not going to go really too far into that. But at least for Houston specifically, I love the move. Getting them a full-on scorer, I think they kind of slowly, deep down, realized that the Jalen Green experience was getting towards an end. I mean, that's still why they picked him over Evan Mobley. I still don't understand that. I always thank Houston for that, though, but I don't understand why they did it. But I think it gives you that elusive score that Houston for a while has been, I would say, lacking ever since. I mean, you can obviously with Sengun, but I'm talking like a non-big or non-center. Let me just put it that way. But I think for Houston, this makes them like one of the Western Conference contenders because you put them up not with Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City is the one, but I think that second tier option of in the playoffs, if you put these two teams together in a 7-game series, the Thunder and another team, that other team is going to be Houston now because of Kevin Durant. But you got to keep the on the court and even the off the court stuff controlled, which I think Ime Udoka and Houston should do a good job of doing. So for overall, really love the move. You make that make or break move. This is their time now.
Yeah, I'm going to split it up. I'm going to briefly talk about both. I'm going to go with a signing and a trade. The signing I'm going to highlight is D'Angelo Russell, 2-year deal with the Mavericks. I really like this move. I think this is a good little sit-on replacement for Kyrie Irving while he's not ready for the season quite yet. And I think D'Angelo Russell, I think he's still going to be a really good option for this Mavericks team, even when Kyrie Irving's back. A nice little 6-man piece to put in the lineup. But before Kyrie Irving comes back to the court, I think D'Angelo Russell is going to be a nice little fill-in point guard. And then for the trade, I really loved the John Collins move to the Clippers. I think it was a much-needed move, and I think John Collins is a really good player. He has just been in really, really bad situations over his career. He was with the Atlanta Hawks, and they weren't that good when he was on the team. He was with the Utah Jazz, and that really hasn't panned out well at all for anybody. And I think the Clippers really I think they won this trade. They had to give up Norman Powell for him, but I think John Collins is really going to shine on this Clippers team.
Yeah, my favorite Western Conference move has got to be Jordan Poole to New Orleans. I think that the Pelicans needed a younger guard. Obviously, C.J. McCollum, when he came over from Portland, I think we can all agree, latter half of his career, obviously still a prolific scorer, but I do think Jordan Poole fills that role better and can mesh well with this core of what's left in New Orleans. I think that a healthy Zion makes this team very scary. And with championship-level guard play that Jordan Poole provides, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what this Pelicans team does when it comes to April and May, and possibly June.
Yeah, my favorite Western Conference obviously is a move. You could really go a lot of ways with the team I'm pulling it from. I mean, they got Cam Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets for Michael Porter Jr. They got Bruce Brown back. But I'm going with Tim Hardaway Jr. I absolutely love the Tim Hardaway Jr. move for this team. You just go back and think on that championship team, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was a crucial part of it. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is pretty much KCP, but a tiny bit better. And a player like him working alongside Nikola Jokic's playmaking is just hard to stop, and it's going to be really fun to see what Tim Hardaway Jr. does for this Denver team. And I know that, in my opinion, they're the biggest threat to dethrone the Thunder in the Western Conference this season. Their offseason was absolutely perfect. They did everything right, and they were already the team in the West that was the closest to beating them last season. So they are really scary to look at. And then you see in that West, Denver really have a high chance. They could even be the team. Everyone here will put Oklahoma City back in number one, but it's hard to three-peat the Western Conference. It's hard to be number one in the West 3 years in a row. Denver could get that number one seed, but moving on to our biggest riser award. Now, this can go anywhere. You can have a playoff team, a non-playoff team jumping into the play-in, a playoff team that made the playoffs but jumping up into that next level into a top-tier contender type spot. It could go either way, guys. What do y'all have?
Oh, man. I'm excited. I'll mention this team later as well, but that high riser for me is going to be a non-playoff team that is going to jump into, at the least, the play-in. Now, if they absolutely outshoot expectations, you could see them at that 6th spot. I don't think it's going to be that high. But the Portland Trailblazers, man, a really, really young team that I think has a lot of potential. I mean, I know we're going to talk about the Scoot Henderson injury later on, but I think also as well, I mean, you got Matisse Thybulle. Obviously with Damian Lillard's more of that veteran presence that I think this team could use especially a lot. I mean, you especially got Robert Williams, Jermaine Grant, man, and Drew Holiday. I think they're going to be special for Portland. I mean, you need the veteran presence as well on the floor when obviously Lillard's dealing with the injury. But I think especially once Scoot gets healthy, I think once this Portland team kind of slowly get that chemistry back up, get back in order, this team is going to be special. And all I'm going to say right now is don't say I didn't tell you.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this section for a while, seeing biggest risers in the West after going through a lot of years of non-playoffs and a lot of injuries, just a lot of rough years being a San Antonio Spurs fan. But those are my biggest risers. Last year, they were the 13th seed in the West. I'm pretty sure they had 34 wins, 13th seed in the West. I say that they can at least be a play-in team, but I think same with RJ. I think they could jump up to the 5 or 6 seed if they stay healthy, if they exceed expectations. I think one thing that this San Antonio Spurs team has this year that they have not had in the past is depth. They finally have players that don't only have a starting lineup. They have Dylan Harper, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Luke Cornett out of free agency. They have a good bench. They have a good core. And the only reason why there was not a good record last year is because the blood clot for Victor, thumb injury for De'Aaron Fox, Stephen Castle finally got that Rookie of the Year award that I was waiting for him to get. I knew he was going to get it the entire year, but I think the Spurs can definitely rise up. They won't be the 13th seed again. I'm telling you that right now. And they're going to make the play-in for the first time in a couple of years, and they're going to make the playoffs for the first time in a lot of years, and the pain will finally end.
Yeah, I mean, I know we talked about this before we started, but my biggest riser in the West is the Houston Rockets, solely due to the fact that they have a go-to scorer now. I think we saw in the series against Golden State, which they did lose, you can't rely on Jalen Green as a number one option in the playoffs, and we saw that last year. I think the Suns will learn the same. I don't think that the Rockets will get bounced in the first round. I think they have a chance to contend for that number one seed in the Western Conference. I do think it's the Thunder's conference, no doubt. But this team, they have depth. And I know Fred VanVleet, we talked about it last episode, is out. I do think that this gives a chance for guys like Jabari Smith to eventually crack the starting lineup. You got guys like Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore. It's going to be interesting. Well, yeah, it's going to be very interesting for the Houston Rockets to see what they can do. I love Şengün as well. I mean, they have depth at that center position, and adding a true scorer like Kevin Durant is only going to help this team come playoff time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually going to side with DJ here. I have the San Antonio Spurs as well as my biggest riser. Now, obviously getting Wemby back healthy, he was cleared today. Was it today or?
It was, yeah, they came out. Mitch Johnson came out in media today. He said that Victor's cleared for all activities, and then he also said De'Aaron Fox is hurt with an hamstring injury and will not be back until November 1st, but that's their aim point, but that really shouldn't matter. He's only going to miss the first couple games of the season.
Yeah, he'll be back, and this Spurs team is just really interesting to look at. There's a lot of guys that really could make that jump. Stephen Castle can make another jump. I've always been a big Devin Vassell fan. He is one of the more intriguing long scorers in the league. He's 6'5", 200, very long wingspan. His wingspan is very long. It makes you feel like it's like a Jalen Williams type thing, where he's 6'5", but his wingspan makes him play like he's 6'7" or 6'8". I really just did that, but they also made an incredible offseason move, trading for Adam Flagler. Adam Flagler wins championships. That's a championship move right there, and having him anchor. Your potential two-way, or actually he's not eligible for a two-way, but if he makes the roster, that's a 3-time champion at all levels. They're adding another team. He's won the national championship with Baylor. He's won the G League championship with the OKC Blue, and he's won an NBA championship with the Thunder. That's a big time move right there.
Yeah.
I'm just joking, but I also love the Dylan Harper move. I mean,
Yeah.
With drafting him, that picks up a lot of the slack that De'Aaron Fox would be missing, like just having that rookie potentially in the starting lineup. I'd say he would be starting.
I think he might start for the beginning of the season when Fox is in. And you were just mentioning Dylan Harper. Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you. Real quick, another rookie I think can kind of put himself in the starting rotation is Carter Bryant.
Oh, I love Carter Bryant.
His defense. I love his defense. I think he could definitely. I don't know if he's going to get playing time to begin the season. I'm not going to lie, but I think starting to get into the grid of the season, I think his defense is going to be a big factor, and I think he could jump into that rotation for the Spurs.
Yeah, there's a lot of good like mid-tier role players on this team that I like. It reminds me a little bit of the Thunder, where it's like you have your one in Wembanyama, you have a potential two. You have your two in Fox, but you have a potential two potential threes in Castle and Harper. So a lot of potential there with that team, and I think they're going to be the biggest riser in the Western Conference. Now, we're moving on to the other level. The biggest faller. This could go a lot of ways. The West is obviously very stacked. There's not a lot of wiggle room. If you look last season, from the 8 seed all the way up to the 1 seed, every single team won 48 or more games. And from the 5 up, they all won 50. And then it was 8 through 2 were separated 52 to 48, and the Rockets were 2 games ahead of the Lakers. So it was 51-51-50 49 48-48 from 3 to 8. That's tight. There's not much wiggle room whatsoever. So this biggest faller award, they can still be a good team, but they might fall from the 5 seed to out of the playoffs into the play-in.
I'm going to go with the Sacramento Kings. I am not a big fan of this Kings team. I think they had one of those, even last year, I think they had one of those special runs where the team you don't expect to make noise actually sneaks into the play-in. And, I mean, they snuck in by around 4 games. But I think with especially teams like Portland, San Antonio, even New Orleans can make a little bit of that jump. It's going to be really difficult for Sacramento to kind of handle up around that play-in range. So, they re-signed Doug McDermott. They added a couple pieces. I know they got Drew Eubanks, and I believe through the Jonas Valanciunas trade got Dario Saric, and then obviously regained Cody's favorite German, Dennis Schroeder. But I'm just not a fan of this Kings team. I mean, with obviously Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. Obviously, you got Sabonis. You got him cooking. I just don't think the Sacramento team has all around what it takes to keep kind of in that playing range. You're going to fall, I don't think too much, but I think they're going to fall out just enough to like that 11 or 12 spot where you're kind of in that purgatory range, unfortunately, for Sacramento.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with what Cody was saying before. I think that this team has potential to be possibly a 4 seed, but I think that they fall back to possibly out of the play-in. I'm going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies here. They're going to start off the season. We were just talking about this before the episode. They're going to start off the season. We're going to talk about it later. Brandon Clark's injury, Jaren Jackson Jr. is hurt, and Zach Edey is going to be hurt to start the season. Those are just 3 big men that you really can't afford to lose, especially, maybe one of them you could afford to lose. The next person steps up. But to have all 3 of them hurt to begin the season, that's going to be a rough start to the season. John Morant, he's always had questions about his injury, about his off-the-court problems. I think their off-season was very I don't know how to describe their offseason. They lost Desmond Bane. They got Cole Anthony for a little bit there, and then they waived him off after that trade. They also lost Luke Kennard, which I think is a little I feel like that's a good role player that you should have on the team, and that they did lose. Other than that, they signed Jaren Jackson Jr. to a 5-year extension, so he's going to be there. He's going to be playing, but only when he's healthy. I like Jalen Wells. I think he's a good player. I like Vince Williams Jr. I think he's a good player. but just in terms of where this team stands to other Western Conference teams, I think they have potential, but to start off the season, they're going to need to get some players to really step up, and I don't know if they're going to be a guaranteed playoff or play-in team.
Yeah, I mean, I know you talked about some of these moves earlier with John Collins and Brooke Lopez, but my team is going to be the LA Clippers. I do think there's a lot of drama outside of ball, and I don't know how this team's going to really be impacted by it. I mean, there's still an ongoing investigation into this scandal with Kawhi Leonard. But, I mean, you look at this team, too. I mean, James Harden obviously played amazing last year. Bradley Beal, you add him into the mix now. You sign back Chris Paul. So that point guard position, that's an interesting point guard room. I mean, obviously these guys are in the latter half of their career, but it's going to be interesting to see how the LA Clippers handle the issues outside of basketball and how it impacts the team internally. But I don't think the Clippers are going to be as dominant as they were last year. I could see them in the play-in instead of a sure lock for the playoffs. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this all transpires and how it all gets resolved.
Well, I also had the Clippers, Brayden. And mine's not, I don't think this team's going to be bad. I think I have them just falling a couple of seeds. I actually only have them falling 2 seeds in the Western Conference standings. And it's really due to they were very streaky throughout parts of last season. I mean, they ended the season on an 8-game win streak, and that's what propelled them into the 5th seed in the first place. And there's so much they made great moves, but at the same time it feels more like the Los Angeles unction than the Clippers. I mean, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and 2015 or 20, not 2015, but 2018, this team's winning the NBA Finals pretty easily. And it's just Bradley Beal's not been a positive player for quite some time now. It's been at least 3 to 4 years now. Chris Paul is still solid, but he's not he's more of, I guess, not to use the average comparison, but he's more Rondo than he is Paul right now, which is still a good point guard, but and in terms of I'm talking like Lakers Rondo, like a good point guard, but not like a game changer. And then the whole Kawhi situation, I mean, they signed Brooke Lopez too. He's still a good center, and a good backup center to Zubac. But the whole Kawhi situation just puts a giant gray-black ink splatter onto this team, and it's hard to tell what's going to happen. And with the rest of the West also getting better and also looking to make that jump with teams like the Spurs, like the Dallas Mavericks as well, who's no one's mentioned so far, they could potentially make that jump again with Cooper Flagg. Kyrie Irving's going to be back soon, and the signings they made. It's just very hard to see what's going to happen with the Clippers, and I have them falling a little bit because of that. And now we're going to go to the Up Next Award, the young team that it may not be this year, but it may be next year. The young team that's going to make that jump and make people believe they up next.
Oh, you want me to say it? Yeah. The Portland Trailblazers. I kind of started this propaganda, and I will be glad that I did start it. I'm going to tell you, man, Drew Holiday trade, I mean, it gives them that veteran presence. I mean, obviously, yes, you did lose DeAndre Ayton, then Anthony Simons, in that trade that got you Drew Holiday. But I mean, I was talking about him earlier before. I mean, the only other thing now that I can add that, at least that I haven't said, I'll kind of also give it around the room. This team's exciting and young, and obviously, like I said, we will discuss the Scoot Henderson injury along with a couple more. But this team, man, they have a lot of potential with Robert Williams as well, like I mentioned. But Jeremy Grant, man, I mean, I already mentioned before, but I'm going to do it again. He is exciting to watch. I love his game. I think he can really propel Portland to spots they haven't really seen since another man was on their roster that currently is there right now in Damian Lillard. This team's exciting. They got a lot of young talent. I know Donovan, I'm going to try and say this properly, Donovan Clingan.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I got it right first try. Oh, my gosh. Look at that.
And also Tumani Kamara.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah,
I was going to let you guys kind of go into that realm. But, Ms. Cody, I know you definitely know that more than me. But I will say, though, this Portland team, especially where they were before and looking just out of overall aspects of jumping into that play-in spot, even fighting for where Sacramento was, I think it would be a huge win for this Portland team.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Pelicans. I am so high on this team. I think we were just talking about the Spurs draft class and how they had two really good first round draft picks. I think the same thing with the Pelicans. I think the picks of Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen, I loved those picks for the Pelicans, and I think they did really good with those. And Brayden mentioned it earlier, Jordan Poole they just acquired, and he was mentioned championship caliber player, and I love it. I really love these guards on the Pelicans right now. They have Jordan Poole, Jeremiah Fears, Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy, Jordan Hawkins. And don't forget, I know he's going to be out for a decent bit, but Spurs legend DeJounte Murray will be returning later in the season. So once you add him to the lineup, as long as this Pelicans team stays healthy, a.k.a. Zion Williamson, I think this Pelicans team has a lot of potential. I'm really high on Herb Jones. I think the offseason signing of Kevin Looney, I really like that as a depth center. I'm just really high on this Pelicans team, and Cody, you were saying, it doesn't have to be this year, but in coming years, I think they take a small jump for the next 3 years to kind of get back into the top teams in the West. I think that they make the play-in this year. I have them in that realm for my playoff prediction. But I think they slowly take steps for the next coming years because it's a nice, good young team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think my team is a popular pick, but I'm going to go with the Utah Jazz. I love these young guards and Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, Keontae George, and then you look at what they did in the draft. They drafted Ace Bailey, Walter Clayton Jr., I mean, and they have Walker Kessler, one of the best centers in the game, in my opinion, especially from a rebounding standpoint. This team is exciting. They're young. There's going to be a lot of players that, I mean, Isaiah Collier last season, I think proved a lot of people wrong. I think he was playing at an elite level at times, like throughout the back half of the season. I'm excited to see what this team does. They still have Lauri Markkanen. You add in Kyle Filipowski, Cody Williams. We know, obviously, his brother just won an NBA championship. But it's going to be very exciting to see what this team does, and I do have them as a 10 seed in the play-in.
All right. Hot take right there by Brayden Laszlo. But I'm going to continue what RJ's been saying this entire episode. The Trailblazers, for me, it's not this year, but it's next year. I think they're going to make big strides, though, this season. And I just love Toumani Camara. Like, I love like strong, powerful defenders that have he has all the tools to be elite in terms of the defensive side. And he also was obviously on the all defensive second team last season. And there's just so much positives about this Trailblazers team for the future and even now. Obviously, the Scoot Henderson injury is tough, mainly for him, more than it is Trailblazers, because I felt like we're going to segue into the Scoot Henderson talk after this before we get to the playoff predictions. But I really feel like this was a kind of make or break it year, if you would, for Scoot, because you have Damian Lillard coming back from injury next season. You have Drew Holiday still on the team. And there's just not much room if he didn't have a great improvement in his season this year. And just having that hamstring injury is just put a big, giant splatter in the middle of that chance. But Donovan Clingan, I love that pick. I think he was... he should have had a lot more Rookie of the Year type hype last season. Obviously, he's not really to say boring, but like he's not a popular type of player, kind of like in that Walker Kessler form of he does all the things that doesn't show up on the box score, and he's one of the best rebounders, one of the better rebounders in the NBA as well. I love the Yang Hassan pick. He's going to be so good in the future. That was such a great pick that no one really had the Yang Hassan on his radar until he was picked, and then you just had all of the clips that were circulating through that like Draft Express realm of things throughout the like pre-draft process, just popping back up on every single social media page about this guy. But it's like there's so much hype between like all of the centers on this team, and Denny Avdia is obviously a really good forward, but there's so much good young players on this team that could potentially make that jump and show this team is one of the next up in this Western Conference. But yeah, segueing to Scoot Henderson, I'm going to pull it up right now to see the exact specifics of the injury, but he injured his hamstring and will miss the start of the season. And it'll be, if there's a exact time frame yet, he will return to basketball injury activities in 4 to 8 weeks. So he will be missing the start of the season, but it's a left hamstring tear, and hamstrings, they linger. So he's more than likely going to see, if it doesn't say anything about surgery in here, but I mean, it must not be that high of a grade of a tear if he's returning in 4 to 8 weeks, but it's still a tear. It's his hamstring that lingers, and it just really puts a bad look at, or just at the potential that he had this season, because if you look at his stats after the All-Star break last season, he was breaking out. He was averaging 13.4 points, 4.6 assists, 3.8 rebounds, and now that just puts another dent in what had the potential to be a great career for Scoot. He's just dealt with a lot so far.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think for Portland, they're gonna miss that production. I think especially at the start of the year is where you're gonna notice it the most. But with the hamstring injury, I think in any sport with anybody, you have to be so cautious and careful, because they, like kind of you mentioned, Cody, they can re-aggravate at any time. And I think that's why you can't rush back from it. You can't say, oh, I'm going to try and come back in like that 5th week. If you or me especially, if I were the Portland organization, I would take the full 8 weeks. Make sure he's okay, because you're going to have to rely on him later in the year. And guess what? If you can't, due to his hamstring even making it more of a problem and going to be out even longer amounts of time, it's going to really cost this Portland team that has so much potential that we've mentioned a lot during this podcast. But I think for Portland especially, and for Scoot, take the safe route. Pull what the Washington Commanders are doing with Jaden Daniels. Take the ultra safe route, because it can never go wrong.
Yeah, you were talking about the ultra safe route. I really like that, especially after they acquired Drew Holiday. Kind of let Scoot Henderson sit for a bit and kind of let that heal. And also, Damian Lillard is not healthy yet. Have both those guards sit. Have both of them recover. Because I kind of agree with what you said before, Cody. I don't think this is the year for the Trailblazers, but I think next year and years upcoming, I think could be big years for the Portland Trailblazers. But in terms of Scoot Henderson by himself, he had not so much of a good start for his career for the Trailblazers, kind of being under the shadow of Victor Wembanyama as second pick in the draft. But like you said, he had a good run at the end of the season, but nobody really talked about it because the Trailblazers weren't in playoff contention. But I think it was really nobody really talked about it, but I think it was a nice thing to see going into this season, and this hamstring injury. It really just sucks, because I think he could have continued that play into the beginning of this season. But I'm excited to see what he does when he gets back on the court.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the Blazers kind of had a strong patience, as they should. I mean, they weren't really competing for anything with Scoot's development, and this is just another setback, in my opinion. Obviously, not on the court to start the year. That definitely is going to come back to bite not only him, but also the organization, in my opinion. Obviously, you do have some great defenders on that roster. You do have Drew Holiday coming in, championship pedigree right there. It's going to be interesting to see how this team performs without him. I think they'll be fine, in my opinion, obviously. Cody, you said it. It's not this year, it's next year when everyone comes back fully healthy. You obviously have Damian Lillard coming back. I know fans are excited to see what he brings next year. For Scoot, though, this definitely throws a wrench in his career, in my opinion. Obviously, top 5 pick in 2023. I think fans expected a lot more out of him in his first couple of years, and now we won't get to see him for possibly the first 2 months of the year.
Yeah, now moving on to another injury in the NBA. Actually, a plethora of injuries for this entire organization. The Memphis Grizzlies, every single season it feels like, just get ravaged in every single way possible, whether it's off the court, whether it's on the court, whether it's in off-season training, a player gets hurt again for the 40th time of his career. It's just felt like that for the Memphis Grizzlies, and it's really killed what looked to be a potential championship core in the early stages of that Grizzlies tenure on the top of the West. But Brandon Clark is set for another knee procedure, and That's already on top of Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey being out for the first couple of weeks of the season as well. And to really address the specifics, Brayden Clark will undergo an arthroscopic procedure to address knee synovitis, which he suffered during off-season training. He will be reevaluated in 6 weeks. And he also had a PCL sprain, where he missed the final month of 2024-25 season with that, which fully healed without surgery, but now he got hurt again. And that's on top of Zach Edey, who had an ankle injury. Jaren Jackson Jr. has turf toe, and Edey is still meant to miss about another 6 to 9 weeks, and Jackson is expected to return to play in 4 to 6 weeks. So a lot of injuries for Memphis. That's just been a story of their career. I mean, of their really this entire core.
Yeah, I think for Memphis especially, it's always something. It's not a matter of, oh, can they make it? Oh, they're going to have that fully healthy, everybody's playing roster. It's, oh, God, what's going on in Memphis now? What's happening this time? And I think especially for Brayden Clark, a guy who's, averaged about 8 and 5, I think Memphis at first will, I think even later on, will especially feel the blow of this injury. And Cody kind of mentioned a little bit, that last 14 regular season, he actually missed, the 4 games in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, it was
with this PCL.
It was a 4-game sweep. That's
what it was. That's why it's only 4. Yeah. But I think especially just trying to stay healthy. I think especially for this Memphis team, when I think of teams that have gotten so constantly injured, Jaren Jackson with Memphis as well as also mentioned. We talked about Edey. This Memphis Grizzlies team always has something going on. I think for Memphis, they might see that slide this year because of these types of injuries. And if you can't really make that statement early on in the year and you're constantly playing catch-up, that's a really difficult task to do. And I don't think
especially in the West.
Yeah, absolutely. With so many great teams in the West we'll get to, especially here soon, I don't think it's possible for Memphis to try and kind of fall early, I should say.
Yeah, all the points you guys made is you guys are defending my point on why I picked the Grizzlies to be my biggest faller. A bunch of the points that I made earlier, I'm going to kind of repeat. Jaren Jackson, Zach Edey, Brayden Clark. Like I said before, all 3 of them being injured at once, I think is so rough because I'm not going to lie, the Grizzlies made a couple good offseason moves. Unfortunately, none of them were for big men because they had their big men established, I think, and I don't think they needed to make any moves. But now the fact that all 3 of them are injured at the same time. If one of them are injured, it's next guy up. They need guys like Santi Aldama to step up. Other than that, you just need to kind of pick and choose a lot of small ball lineups, I think, that are going to be in place for the Memphis Grizzlies in the beginning of the season. But like you guys said, there's always something going on with the Memphis Grizzlies, and unfortunately, it seems like all their big men are hurt right now, and it seems like they're just going to need some people to step up, at least for the beginning of the season. If these injuries have setbacks, the Grizzlies are in a really, really bad spot, especially in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I think this definitely hurts them defensively. Obviously, former Defensive Player of the Year in Jaren Jackson, he goes down. That's like your anchor on defense. And then adding Zach Edey, a lot of people question that pick, but when you see it on the court, it all makes sense. But unfortunately for the Grizzlies, keeping players healthy has been a struggle, as you all mentioned. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they try to mix and match, as you mentioned, DJ, how they're going to optimize the players they have, or if they try to go out and make a trade. And we can't count on the health of Ja Morant either, or Ja Morant, excuse me. I don't think his health is honestly that much better than any of these other guys. It's going to be interesting to see how Memphis tries to keep up with the rest of the Western Conference with their inside guys out.
Yeah, definitely. And one of my best friends from now in high school, Harvey, is a big Memphis fan, so shout out him. I'm sorry that this has to happen to your favorite basketball team, but Brayden Clark showed so much promise as a rookie. His jumper actually looked pretty good, and then something happened to it. I don't know what happened. I don't know if a trainer got in his ear and was like, hey, let's completely change the jump shot that Gonzaga completely fixed for you and make it look whatever that happened, or if he got injured, since that potentially could always happen, like the same kind of Tourette outlet syndrome like Fultz had, or something like that. But it just randomly just went broke. And then immediately after that, he dealt with so many injuries, including this one. So he has his latest injury, the PCL strain at the end of last season. He had a torn left Achilles tendon in the 2022-23 season. and it's just been the story of his career, and it's been and injuries have just been the story of this Memphis Grizzlies core led by John Morant, and it's just been a shame that a young core that showed as much promise as Memphis did at the beginning of it has just turned out as a total flop, and this Brandon Clark injury is just another reason why. But we're going to move on to our playoff predictions now. Obviously, this is the Western Conference, and it can go any way possible. So if someone's listening to this podcast trying to look back to see how we did in, let's say, like May or March, whenever you're watching it right now, if you're really going back that far, and they're like, oh, these people picked the Lakers to be in the top 4, and they didn't know that Luka Doncic was going to miss 2 months with an injury or something like that happened like in January. Well, I'm sorry, we didn't know. But okay, playoff predictions, y'all. Let's start.
You want me to start first? Yeah. All right. Well, this is a very tentative list that I would not be shocked switches in like 3 weeks. Just knowing that something magically is going to happen that screws up all of my standings, which would not be shocked. But I would not be shocked if some people after this be like, you know what, this guy doesn't know ball one bit. But let's go. Number 1 seed, OKC. I'm not even going to really explain that. They're just that dominant. Number 2, still going to go with Houston. Really big on them. That KD trade is going to help them out a lot. Number 3, I'm going to go Denver. Love that experience that they have. And Jokic is that guy, man. What can I say? Number 4, Minnesota. Loving that development. Anthony Edwards is one of those future core guys of the NBA. And I cannot wait to see Minnesota constantly be good. You know, you haven't seen that since, could say even Kevin Love and even the Garnett days back all the way. I think exciting time for the NBA. But number 5, I'm going to go with the Lakers. I mean, it's going to be Luka's show this year. Can he handle the pressure? And will the team around him actually be productive? I think is a big question. I think they're going to be around that middle spot. Golden State at 6. It's Steph Curry, man. You can never count him out in that Golden State team. And Jimmy Butler, me and Cody were talking about it. And before we were recording, defensively, they're just that goated.
Yeah, they were one of the best teams in the end. They were the best defense in the entire NBA outside of Houston and OKC.
Especially watching that Rockets series in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, I know. Brayden, you were like, "Oh, why'd they go down?" It's just Golden State was that good defensively. That's why I have them up high at number 6. At number 7, gonna go with the Clippers. I don't know how much I feel about this right now, considering what's going on over there and Steve Ballmer, but we'll have to wait and see. I think they made a lot of good moves. That Brook Lopez one especially stood out to me, but it's all about that. It's all about health, and it's all about getting out of the limelight of being in LA. You're going to be in the news a lot, but you don't want to be in the news for stuff like that.
You don't want to have an investigative reporter talking about it.
Yeah, no. Trust me, you don't want Channing Frye calling your or certain reporters about your team or whatever is covering him a snitch. If you know, you know. At number 8, I'm going to go with DJ Spurs. Think they'll have that jump. Victor's finally healthy. De'Aaron Fox will be in there. Dylan Harper will be in there. That squad's going to be nice. Low-key. I'm really excited to see them. Number 9, my risers, the Portland Trailblazers. I've already talked about them way too much. I'm not going into it again. Number 10, and this could be so easily changed by like 4 other teams. I'm going to go Dallas. I think with the moves that they made, especially with the D'Lo signing, DJ, you mentioned, I think they're going to just be able to sneak in. I think Cooper Flagg's going to show that production. Not quite what everybody's expecting right now, but I think give them a little bit more time. That Dallas team could be nice in the future.
All right, let's start. I'm going to go the same format that I did last week if you guys tuned in. I kind of had my playoff prediction in tiers. So my first tier, I'm going to go 1-2, Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets. Last year, that was the same thing. It was 1-2. But the only difference is Thunder had 68 wins last year. Rockets had 52. I think that gap kind of shrinks. I think they are the top 2 teams in the West, but I don't think the Thunder have as much as an easy time as they did last year. With my 3 and 4, I'm going to go with the Timberwolves over the Nuggets. I think that these two teams are 2 of the better teams in the Western Conference, but I'm going to give the Timberwolves the edge on this one. I think the Nuggets are a very good team, but I just think that the Timberwolves, they showed a lot of promise last year. I'm really high on a lot of players. Anthony Edwards, one of the best players in the league, I also just love their big men, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, and I'm really high in Terrence Shannon Jr., I think, and Rob Dillingham. I think those are two players on the Timberwolves that could take big jumps, and if they do, I can see them going to that 3 seed, as I said. For my 5 seed, I have the LA Lakers. 6 seed, I have the LA Clippers. I think they're a very good team, and if they keep the injuries and the offseason issues aside, I think they are a very good and valuable team, and they could be up there with the Lakers. Number 7, I'm going to go with my very own San Antonio Spurs. I think they're going to make that jump. I think that their highest potential, I think that they could be that 5 or 6 seed if injuries and their play kind of go hand in hand, meaning injuries, no injuries. I didn't mean for them to get injured. At my 8th seed, I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks. Again, I feel like these last 4 teams that I mentioned, Lakers, Clippers, Spurs, Mavericks, I feel like they're all interchangeable. I feel like they could all go together. For my 9th seed, I'm going to go with the Warriors. You guys mentioned before. Curry, you can't really deny him. You kind of have to put him on this list. At number 10, I'm going to go with my flop factor up next award. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Pelicans. At number 11, I'm going to go with the Grizzlies. And at number 12, I'm going to go with RJ's Trailblazers. I think that they could be up there with the Warriors and the Pelicans. I like the Warriors and Pelicans more right now, but who knows? Like you said, in 3 weeks, it could change.
I'm going to go from 10 to 1. At number 10, I got the Utah Jazz. I on it.
That's bold,
Starting
dude.
us strong.
I like it.
I love the group of young players, as I mentioned earlier. I think that if they develop quickly, I'm not entirely obviously. This prediction is probably going to blow up within the first 2 months of the season, but we'll see. At number 9, I got the Golden State Warriors. I just don't think they've done enough in the offseason to really bolster their holes. Obviously, the Al Horford signing was decent, but I don't that doesn't move the needle for me either way. At number 8, I got the Pelicans. I do think that Jordan Poole will provide guard play at a dynamic level for this team, and I think that Zion Williamson, if he stays healthy and stays in shape, it's going to be very interesting to see how far these Pelicans can go. At number 7, this was my biggest faller. I got the LA Clippers. I just don't know how this roster is going to be able to go in and day out and stay healthy, especially with the age of this group. At number 6, I got the Denver Nuggets. I don't think that Jokic is going to have the type of year he's had recently. I just don't. I do love their offseason moves, however. I just don't know if they're better than the teams I put above them. At number 5, I have the San Antonio Spurs. I love this team, man. They've done a lot to bolster this roster. I love that. I mean, you have so many guards on this team that can honestly produce, and you have a number 1 option who's 7 gazillion feet tall. I mean, you absolutely got to love the San Antonio Spurs, especially if they can stay healthy. At number 4, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, I think that Anthony Edwards is a top 5 player in the league, and anything can happen when you have a player like that. At number 3, I got the LA Lakers. I think that they'll go back to that 3 seed. I love Luka Doncic and LeBron because you can do so much with the team around them. They are selfless players, truly are. I mean, and they can score at will. Like, if you need them to, they're so dynamic. I mean, LeBron maybe not anymore, but, I mean, Luka's scoring ability adds a whole different element to this Lakers team. And then I agree with you guys. Rockets at 2, Thunder at 1. These 2 teams have solidified themselves into the upper echelon of the Western Conference, and it's going to be super exciting to see who walks away with the Western Conference this year.
You have some bold takes, my friend.
Yeah.
I could name at least 3 of them.
I'm sure.
Yeah, throwing out some zingers, but now,
Pelicans, man.
Why are
Dang.
you guys not high on the Pelicans?
The Pelicans, I love this team.
Me too, dude. They're nice.
The
young team.
DeJounte Murray Achilles tear is what's really.
Yeah, but I think that
there.
these young guards can be serviceable until he gets back in January, February-ish.
Spurs at 5.
All right.
I love that Spurs at 5.
Going to mine.
I wonder why.
Going to mine. I'm starting at 1. The OKC Thunder. They're just gonna three-peat the regular season Western Conference title. This team they're reigning champs. They have everyone coming back. The only players that aren't on the team anymore from last year's roster are Dylan Jones, Adam Flagler, and Alex Dukas. And they're adding Nikola Topic, who is coming back from ACL tear. So Everyone else is getting one extra year, and they have an entire playoff run under their belts. Number 2, I have Denver. They're my favorite. If it's not the Thunder, it's probably going to be Denver in my opinion. They did everything right in the offseason. They have Nikola Jokic. They have Jamal Murray. They have Aaron Gordon, who's one of my favorite. Now, I don't like him when he's against the Thunder, but whenever I'm not watching him play against the Thunder, I love Aaron Gordon. He's one of my favorite role players in the entire sport. Same thing with Tim Hardaway Jr. And I think Cam Johnson, that's an incredible replacement for MPJ. It's literally the same player, but 40 times better and four times more consistent. But yeah, I think Denver's going to be really good. Houston's number 3. I want to see what they do in the point guard position, but everything else about that team is amazing. The defense, Kevin Durant, Alfred Sengun, everything about it. I'd like to see Amin Thompson potentially run the point. I'd like to see how he does there. He's a really talented young player. And number 4, I have the LA Lakers. I believe in Luka. Our next episode is going to be award predictions, but this might be the year for Luka, in my opinion. And they're going to be a really good team once again. The Minnesota Timberwolves, I have at number 5. It's going to be that 4-5 matchup once again of a rematch of last year. Anthony Edwards, phenomenal player. Rudy Gobert is still a great defender. I like Julius Randle. Don't hate on me. And it's just McDaniels. He's going to make that leap this year. I think he will actually be the number 2 scoring option on this team this year. That's how high of a leap I think he will be making. And they're trying to win it for Mike. They're trying to win it for Mike Conley. This is more than likely his last season. And it's going to be a good year for them as well. Number 6, I have the Golden State Warriors. I like their offseason. They finally made it, offseason as of 2 days ago is what I mean. I like the 4 signings they made last night. Al Horford is a great get for them. That covers the hole that Kevon Looney leaves. They were able to get DeAnthony Melton back. They were able to get Gary Payton II back. DeAnthony Melton, whenever he comes back, he's coming back from injury. He was great for the Warriors last season before he went down. I think that is a great get for them. And the number 7, I have the LA Clippers. It's a tough West. That's all I'll say about that one. There's a lot of drama going on around the Clippers. Number 8, I have the Dallas Mavericks making that leap. I believe in this team with Cooper Flagg. I think he's obviously going to win Rookie of the Year, but whenever Kyrie gets back, Anthony Davis is wearing goggles now. What else is there to love? Number 9, I have San Antonio. I don't think they make the playoffs just yet, but they show everything, and they will have a winning record. And then number 10, I have the Memphis Grizzlies sneaking in there. Both the 9 and 10 seeds in last year's West had losing records, so any team can really sneak in. I have the Grizzlies sneaking in. Portland's just going to miss by a little bit, and I have Portland just missing, and then Phoenix and Sacramento, they're gone. But yeah, that's my Western Conference, and that actually wraps us up perfectly. Our 58 minutes, and that's going to be it for this episode. We're not going to do Where He At. We're going to save that to the next episode, which will not be next week. I have other stuff I have to attend to. But the week after that, we will be doing award predictions for the upcoming season. That will lead us directly into the start of the 2025-26 NBA campaign. But
just a stat check, I still have the lead for Where He At, right?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
It didn't change.
Okay. I just wanted to.
We haven't played since.
Little bragging rights. No, I just wanted to. I wanted to let the audience.
We didn't play it off camera.
I wanted to let the audience.
We're playing without you, bro.
Yeah.
I had to get my points up somehow.
Where'd the long ride at? He got signed. He got signed. Indiana Pacers. Yep. Shout out. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Flop Factor. This is episode 3 of the Flop Factor, the Western Conference preview, plus some WNBA playoffs talk and some Scoot Henderson talk about his injury. But tune in 2 weeks from now, where we'll be bringing you the award coverage right here on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you may be listening right now. Maybe you may even be listening on the transistor.fm website that I so graciously pressed the one button and it created it for me. What a website that is. But thank you all for listening. This was the Flop Factor. Cody Burton, Brayden Laszlo, DJ McDermott, RJ Rice, all signing off.